So hello guys, welcome to Engineers Code. This would be a start of a phenomenal playlist in which we would learn about the different components of the operating system in a more in-depth way, which would not be specific to any interview or any competition perspective. Every software engineer should know about the environment that they are working in so that it helps them with their career, right? So let's start. And make sure you watch every video to grasp all the concepts. We shall discuss everything with code which would be in C so that we could have a better understanding of the concepts and see how they are working under the bus. So let's start. In this video, we are going to understand what is an operating system and what are the functions of it. So basically, what is an operating system? An operating system is an interface between the user and the hardware, right? It is as simple as that, and it could go as complex as the different components of operating system are very complex and the architecture is very complex to understand, but we will make it easier for you so that, and we will show you obviously with the demo and code how does it work, right? So basically what we can understand is that we need some software or an application in between the hardware and the user, me and you, so that it can manage all the resources and applications that are provided to you in the form of hardware, in the form of CPU or the processor, right? For example, in a very weird example, let me give you. If you go to a burger shop and without an operating system, it is like you are provided with all the ingredients, and you are told to make it yourself, right? So it would sometimes it would be tasty, sometimes it would not be tasty. There will be no efficiency in it, and it would also take rather lot of time. Same goes with it. If there would not have been an operating system, then you need to do a lot of things rather than focus on your like actual work that you have to do. For example, you need to do memory management, you need to uh, deallocate memory and allocate memory, you need to make sure that the CPU does not sits idle, and you need to schedule the processes in a certain way. And obviously those who do not know what is a process, we will explain it in the later part, right? So for now, currently, so you are able to understand, right, why we need an operating system, so that it manages all the resources that are available to you in the form of hardware, and it manages it efficiently, right? So that the resources are not wasted, so that and the user can have a seamless experience, right? So there are different components of an operating system and the architecture obviously we will explain it to you in the later videos. But for now, what are the roles of an operating system, right? So we have understood what is an operating system. Now let's understand what are the roles of an operating system. First is process management. So what is a process? So as I told you, process is a very large topic and we need to cover it in one or two videos, right? It is a rather large topic. So for now, you just assume that a process is some application or some program that is under execution, right? That is currently loaded in the memory and is running, right? In uh, it is utilizing the CPU, right? For some reasons or doing some work. Okay, so the operating system manages the process obviously, which are it controls the process creation. Whenever you open it, a process is created. Open an application, a process is created, right? Whenever you run a program, a process is created. It all obviously does the scheduling part. Scheduling is basically whenever the CPU is let's suppose a process A is utilizing the CPU and for some time it does not utilize and goes for some input output operations, then the other processes should utilize the CPU and it should not sit idle, right? So that is a very vague definition. We will there is another topic called scheduling and the different algorithms that are used. Okay, so obviously the process termination, the context switching between different processes, right, allowing the efficient utilization of CPU. And all these words, if you are not able to understand, don't worry, we will cover it in the later part of the playlist, because these are very complex topics and you need to understand in a better way, right? So next is the memory management, right? So what is memory? First you need to know what is a memory, right? So there are different types of memory, and obviously this thing also will be covered in the next video. What is memory, what are the different types of memory? So whenever the process is created, the operating system allocates and manages the memory that is allocated to it, right? Keeping track of which parts of memory are in use by which processes. It handles memory allocation and deallocation, right? The memory that is allocated to a process must be deallocated so that it could reuse that memory, right? Obviously a process, whenever it is running, is allocated some memory, and when you close the software or when you close the program, right, the memory that is allocated to it must be deallocated so that that part of memory can be used by the another process, right? And obviously the protection of memory. For example, if your Chrome is using a certain part of memory, then that memory should not be utilized or not be interfered by another process, right? Unless and until there are some permissions given by the admin or the root user. Okay, so the third part is file management system. Obviously the operating system provides file system services like organizing and managing files and directories on the storage devices, right? It handles file creation, deletion, reading, writing, and providing mechanisms for the file access control and security. So there is a file system for every operating system, right? We will also discuss what type of file system are there in Unix and Windows, etc., right? And next is the device management, right? So what are the devices that are there in your computer or laptop, right? The keyboard, the mouse, these are called external devices, right? The internal devices like speaker, the other things. The operating system manages the computer hardwares, right? And the input output devices, the storage devices, the external storage, the network interface. It provides devices, drivers, and interface for device communication, right? And it handles device interrupts and input output operations, right? For example, if you type something in keyboard, the operating system handles that and shows you the output in the display screen, right? So the next is the user interface. Obviously the operating system provides a user interface that allows users to interact with the computer system, right? These can be either the graphical user interface or what we call GUIs, or the command line interface like the terminal or PowerShell in the Windows, right? In which you can write commands and interact with the operating system, or you can just click. For example, if I click here, something happens, right? So this is the graphical one, but in the back it is executing some system calls, right? Again, we will look on what are the system calls that are available to us. So the operating system manages it, right? And it enables users to execute program, manages file, configure system settings, and more, right? So next is the network management. So obviously the Wi-Fi, the hotspot that you are able to use are managed by the operating system, right? The operating system may include networking functionalities to manage network connections, protocols, and services. What protocols are to be used whenever you send a request, HTTP request from the web browser, the operating system, what does it do? So we will look into that, but the basic thing is that it is managed by the operating system, right? And it allows process to send and receive data over networks, for example the internet. Next is the security and protection part, right? The operating system enforces security measures to protect the system and its resources from the unauthorized access. For example, if you have created your own account, then it will not allow other person to access your part of the memory or your things until and unless you have given the password or the authorization to them, right? So these are handled by the operating system. In the back also, it provides mechanisms for user authentication, access control, data encryption, and system level security policies, like, right? For example, you cannot change something until and unless a permission is given to you. For example, there are some parts that you cannot change in the operating system, right? So these all things are managed by the operating system. you know next comes the error handling and fault tolerance. The operating system, for example, if your application crashes, then it is the duty of operating system to handle it and maintain the stability of the system, right? So that the user does not feel a lag or something. Sometimes it gets crashed because of some deadlocks or some infinite loops. Again, we will look about deadlocks, don't worry. Some infinite loops that is written by the user itself in some programs, right? So it provides a mechanism for error reporting and recovery, and so that it could minimize system disruptions. Next, as we told you, the resource allocation and scheduling part. So the operating system, manages resource such as CPU time, memory, and input-output devices, allocating them efficiently among multiple processes and users. It back and forth. It is a back and forth process. Whenever a process does not utilizes the CPU, it allocates it to another process, and so on and so forth. Right? And these are done by different scheduling algorithms to determine the order and priority of process. There are process priorities. For example, if I do this, or move the mouse or move the cursor, that is a high priority process because that should be done first. Obviously, in your home or in your office, there are different priorities of different tasks. Like in home also, this should be done first and this should be done next to it, based on the priority. So these are some of the criterias that that the operating system uses and ensures fair resource sharing between the processes, right? So these are some of the roles of the operating system. And if you have any doubt in these, please feel free to comment and ask your questions. And wait for the next video. In the next video, most probably we would discuss about the memory. What is memory? What are the different types of memory in the operating system? Where this operating system lays in the memory when it is not in loaded, and when it is loaded, what happens? The bootstrap program, the kernel. What is the architecture of operating system, right, in the upcoming videos. And after that, the operating system structure divides are divided into these only: the process management, the memory management, the file system, the resource allocation, different types of scheduling algorithms we will look upon, and we will code that. We will see the problems that are occurring, and we will code that in C using actual system calls, and using actual tools that are used to code it, right? So a C program is a C language is used to do that. So we will obviously do that in it, and we will show you how it is being done. So keep following this playlist, and thank you guys for watching this video. I hope I will see you in the next video. So thank you.